What's up, guys? This is an example video on adding and subtracting fractions. So we're going to be looking at problems that look like this. So if you've never used my videos before, I highly recommend you pause and try the examples when prompted, and there are always free guided notes available at divideandconquermath.com. Now, just a note, I go straight through 4 examples in this video. So I assume you know the basics, but you just want to see more worked examples of how this whole process works. So if you want more instructions and you just need a little bit more guidance, I highly recommend that you check out my 2-part series on adding and subtracting fractions where I break down everything, and I will have links to that in the description of this video. So without further ado, these are the 4 examples that I'm going to go through in this video. So ways that you can use this, you can either just watch the whole thing through. I would personally recommend that you pause and try each one. And of course, if there's a particular example that you want to see, you can always fast forward to it. This is also a really great way to quiz yourself to see what you know and don't know, and then you've got all the solutions just coming up. So these are the 4 examples I'm going to go through, so let's get started. So let's move on to A here. So if you haven't tried this yet and you want to pause, go for it. Hit play when you're ready. Okay, so for this one, so first things first, we've got to find our LCD. So I'm going to work through all of this with you guys. So the largest number that divides into 16 and 6 is just 2. So I'm going to rewrite 16 as 2 times 8, and I'm going to rewrite 6 as 2 times 3. So it's this 2 that they have in common. So my LCD is 2 times 8 times 3. And if I multiply those together, I get that this equals 48. Okay, so now I'm going to take 5 over 16. So 16 times what will equal 48? If I wasn't sure, I would say, okay, I know that 16 is 2 times 8. My LCD needs to be 2 times 8 times 3, so the LCD has this extra factor of 3. So I'm going to multiply this part and this part both by that extra factor of 3. And now I'll do it again for this 5, 6. So what do I multiply 6 by to get to 48? Well, again, I know 6 is 2 times 3. I can see that the LCD is a 2, an 8, and a 3, so we've got this extra factor of 8. So I can multiply the top and bottom both by 8. And so now I can continue to work this out. So 5 times 3 is 15. 16 times 3 is going to be 48. And then 5 times 8 is 40. So just like that. All right. So now if I do 15 minus 40, that's negative 25 over 48. And by the way, just one other note, negative 25 is this over 48. This is the same as just putting that minus sign right in the middle. These two things are equivalent. Sometimes people get worried about where to put the minus sign. It doesn't matter. You could also put it in the bottom if you wanted, and it would still be the same thing. Okay, so moving on to B here. So if you want to try this one with me, feel free to pause here, give it a try, hit play when you're ready. So first things first, let's find the LCD. So thinking about what divides both of those numbers, the biggest number that will divide each will be 12. So, or sorry, not 12, 6. So I can rewrite 12 as 6 times 2, and I can rewrite 18 as 6 times 3. So my LCD then is going to be, I write that 6 down, that thing that they have in common, I write that down once, and then times 2 times 3, so this is going to equal 36. Okay, now what if you didn't choose 36? What if you had something higher? I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot this in a moment, so just bear with me here. Okay, so let's go ahead and just work with this LCD that we've got. So what do I have to multiply 12 by to get to that LCD of 36? I have to multiply the top and bottom here by 3. And then what do I have to multiply 5 over 18 by to get to that LCD of 36? Well, then I would multiply that by 2. Okay, so there's kind of everything that goes into this. So this is going to be 21 over 36 plus 10 over 36. So this is going to be 31 over 36. Now, I want to show you, and if you don't want to hear this, you can just go to the next example, but I want to show you what happens if you don't choose this as your LCD. What if you chose something a little different? So let me clear this out for a moment. And let's just take a look at this what if scenario. So what if I was looking at this and I thought 3 was just the largest number that divides into both? What happens? So this will now be 3 times 4 and then this will be 3 times 6. So there is a clue in this, in that 4 and 6, these both have a common factor of 2. These are both divisible by 2, so you know that you didn't find like the highest number that would divide both 12 and 18 at the same time. That would be a hint, but sometimes you don't notice that. So what do you do then? So you would go about your LCD process the same. So I've got 3, and then I'd say, oh, and then that's times 4 times 6, and this equals 72. So that's twice as high as the first LCD that we found. So what happens now if I go this route? So I'm going to go ahead and just go about my business. So 7 over 12, what do I have to multiply 12 by to get to 72? So again, I can reference this. I know this is 3 times 4. 12 is 3 times 4. If I compare that to the LCD, 3 times 4 times 6, I can see that I'm going to have to multiply both the top and bottom by 6. And then for 5 over 18, so for that one, I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 4. So I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 4. And so now I get 42 over 72 plus 20 over 72. And if I add those together, I get 62 over 72. Now I can see just by looking at this, these are both still divisible by 2, right? So now I can divide the top and bottom by 72. And so then I get 31 over 36. So ultimately, I still got to the same final answer. It just created a little bit more work for me because I had to do this last step of simplification. So if you miss the least common denominator, all that happens is that you will have to simplify at the end. That's really it. So it's not the end of the world if you don't get the least one. It just saves you some work. Okay, so now let's take a look at C here. And if you've been watching my videos, you should know that for all mixed numbers, the way that we want to deal with this is we first want to just rewrite this as an improper fraction. So this is really going to be 9/10 minus, so this is all going to be over 2. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So this is what we want to do. So if you want to go ahead and try this one, hit play when you're ready. I'll be here with the answer. So in this case, so for my LCD, the largest number that divides both 2 and 10 at the same time is actually just 2. So this one you might get a little bit thrown off. What do you do with this if I write this out like this? Well, it's still really the same reasoning. We don't have to multiply by that 1 if we don't want to. But, you know, you've got this common factor of 2. So my LCD will be that 2 that they share in common, all of that times the 5. I don't really have to multiply by the 1, right? Because that's redundant. So the LCD here is just 10. Like here, it's still the same reasoning of how to think through this. So here's the good news. I don't have to rewrite 9 over 10. That's already got the LCD. So I just rewrite this as 9 over 10. And now I'm going to make a manipulation to this 7 over 2. What do I multiply the top and bottom here by? I'm going to multiply the top and bottom here by 5. And so now I've got 9/10 minus 35/10. And that equals negative 26/10. And then I can divide the top and bottom by 2 to get negative 13 over 5. So that would be the final answer in this case. And again, this is a case where we could not have simplified this until the very end. So we couldn't make any cancellations in here. You just have to wait till you get here and then divide by 2. Okay, so I've got one more for you guys, and that'll be it. Although if you think you want to see more examples, you can always drop me a comment. So once again, if you want to pause here and then hit play when you're ready, go for it. So my LCD here, so what divides both of these numbers? 5. So I'm going to rewrite 15 as 5 times 3, and I'm going to rewrite 25 as 5 times 5. So notice they only share this one singular factor of 5 in common, okay? So the LCD is that 5 that they have in common, and then the stuff that they don't. So this is actually part of the reason why I like to color code things. I like to underline that thing that I divided both by so I don't forget. And then also just by making that visual reference, it helps me to figure out what else I'm supposed to put in my LCD. So the stuff I didn't underline goes into LCD. So this will be times 3 times 5. So this is 75. Okay, so now I've got 4 over 15. What will I multiply that by? I will multiply the top and bottom here by 5. And then I've got 6 over 25. What am I going to multiply the top and bottom here by? I'm going to multiply those by 3, as shown. So 4 times 5 is 20. So this is 20 over 75. 6 times 3 is 18. And so now I've got 38 over 75, and I can't go any farther with it, so I'm done. Okay guys, so that's it for my examples. If there's more that you want to see, feel free to drop me a comment below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in another video.